Tuesday morning. The catalogue is sitting on the kitchen table where it always sits, next to the salt shaker and your mother's coffee cup. It's thick and heavy, worn soft at the corners from being handled so many times. Your father has folded down the corner of a page near the middle. You've seen him look at that page 3 times this week. On it is a house, not a photograph of someone else's house. A house your family is going to order, build themselves, with their own hands, and it's going to arrive by train. Some ideas come along that don't just change the way people live. They change what people believe is possible at all. This is the story of one of those ideas, and what happened when it quietly disappeared. Here's what we're going to find out. How did the same company that sold your grandfather his work boots end up shipping entire houses across the country? What happened on the morning a family opened 30,000 pieces of lumber in their front yard and realized they had to put it all together themselves? Why did one of the most remarkable ideas in American history come to an end almost overnight? And is it possible you drive past one of these houses every single day without knowing what you're looking at? To understand why Sears modern homes happened, you have to understand what America felt like in 1908. The country was filling up fast. Factories running around the clock, families moving from farms to cities, from the South to the Midwest, from Europe to wherever there was work. And everywhere they landed, they needed the same thing, a roof over their heads that belonged to them. Building a house the old way meant finding a contractor, agreeing on a price that kept changing, waiting months for materials that might or might not show up, and hoping the man you hired wasn't cutting corners on the framing. For a working family bringing home $12 a week, that process wasn't difficult. It was simply out of reach. But here's what most people forget. By 1908, Americans had already spent decades trusting the mail with everything else. Pocket watches, sewing machines, shoes, seeds. You found what you wanted in a catalogue, wrote up your order, sent it off, and picked up your package at the train station when it came in. This wasn't a novelty. It was just how ordinary life worked. So when someone at Sears looked at that habit and asked a simple question, if a family will order a dining room table through the mail, why not a house? The answer turned out to be surprisingly straightforward. There was no good reason why not. The first book of modern homes from Sears appeared in 1908, and what was inside wasn't just drawings of buildings. It was drawings of lives. A living room where the kids would sit by the window on winter afternoons, a kitchen with room enough for Sunday dinner, a front porch facing west where a family could sit out on summer evenings and watch the light go down. Every model had its own name, Crescent, Dover, Cornell, Davenport, because Sears understood something important. You don't choose a house the way you choose a hammer. You have to be able to picture your life inside it first. Here is something nobody talks about. The Sears house was never really just about the house. When a kit arrived on a family's lot, the neighborhood showed up. Not because anyone sent an invitation, because that's simply what you did. You helped frame the walls, and you understood that when your time came, those same people would be back. Children watched from the yard. Older men offered advice. Women brought food. The day the last roof panel went up was a day for the whole block, not because a transaction had been completed, but because something had been built together that was going to outlast everyone who had a hand in it. No real estate developer could package that feeling. No ready-made house could create that memory. The Sears house was an event in a family's life that got written into the story they told about themselves for the rest of their lives. By the early 1920s, Sears offered more than 370 different models. A modest 2-bedroom kit started at around $360, a fraction of what a contractor would charge for the same result. The more elaborate designs, with multiple bedrooms, arched windows, built-in heating, and wide front porches, ran to a few $1,000s. And here is what made the whole thing work financially. Local banks were actually more willing to approve a mortgage on a Sears home than on a custom-built house, because Sears homes were standardized, well-documented, and easy to appraise. A Sears house wasn't just shelter, it was a real asset with a clear market value that held up over time. Trains leaving Chicago carried entire neighborhoods in their freight cars. In Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, New Jersey, you could walk down a single street and see 3 or 4 different Sears models standing side by side, each one slightly different, all of them speaking the same quiet language of work and family and ownership. Here is something nobody talks about, and it's the thing that matters most. Those houses didn't just represent a smart purchase. They represented something America believed about itself with complete certainty during that era, that an ordinary person, given the right tools and a clear enough set of instructions, could build something that would last 100 years. Not a wealthy person, not a professional, just an ordinary working family, willing to put in the time. When a Sears house went up, everyone in the neighborhood watched it happen. The family didn't just receive something, they made something, with their own hands, in front of the people they lived among. And when it was finished, the house meant something that a house you simply moved into never quite could. That's the part that can't be ordered from a catalogue, and it's the part that's been gone the longest. Then came 1929, and the Depression hit like a door closing. Families who had stretched to buy their Sears kit on credit couldn't make their payments anymore. And here is the part that made it devastating for Sears specifically. The company had been acting as the lender for many of those purchases, which meant Sears was now carrying an enormous load of debt that wasn't going to be repaid. By 1934, the company had been forced to absorb losses of $11 million in bad mortgages, a staggering number for that time. The number of Sears home sales offices dropped from 48 in 1930 to just 19 by 1939. The war finished what the Depression had started. Lumber, glass, and metal were redirected to the military. Building materials simply weren't available for kit homes anymore. And when the war ended and the country started building again, the world had shifted in ways that couldn't be undone. Levittown and developments like it offered something the Sears kit never could: a finished house in a finished neighborhood, with roads and schools and utilities already waiting. You moved in on Saturday, and your children started school on Monday. The older dream, of ordering the pieces, unloading them from a train car, and building something yourself with your neighbors holding the frame, that dream didn't fail. It simply ran out of room in the world that came after the war. The last Sears Modern Homes catalogue was printed in 1940. Sales ended in 1942. The pocket it once filled stayed empty, but the houses didn't go anywhere. More than 70,000 Sears homes were sold over those 34 years, and a remarkable number of them are still standing right now. They don't announce themselves. There's no marker on the porch, no sign in the yard. From the street, they look like any other house from that era. Wide front porch, pitched roof, symmetrical windows, brick chimney. Nothing tells you that this house arrived in this town by freight car, was carried piece by piece across a front lawn, and was built by the hands of the family who ended up living in it. Here is what almost nobody knows. Sears never kept a record of where the houses went. Once the kit was shipped and paid for, Sears walked away from the story entirely. No map, no database, no master inventory. A small group of volunteer researchers has spent years developing ways to identify surviving Sears homes, looking for original mortgage documents issued by Sears, catalog blueprints tucked inside walls during renovation, lumber stamps hidden in the framing. In many cases, the best they can honestly say is highly likely. They can't always confirm it. Pittsburgh alone has more than 1,000 verified Sears homes when you count the suburbs. Cincinnati has over 700. Yonkers, New York, has more than 100. Wherever one of these houses still stands, something has survived that was never supposed to last this long. Next time you're driving through an older neighborhood, anywhere in Ohio, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, the Midwest, slow down for just a moment. Look at the houses: wide front porch, pitched roof, Symmetrical windows, brick chimney. One of those might have pulled into this town in a freight car in the winter of 1919. Carried across a muddy front yard board by board, put together by a family and their neighbors over the course of a few weeks, finished just before the weather turned. Ask your father if he ever heard of a Sears house. Ask where he grew up. Ask what the neighborhood looked like when he was young. Watch his face while he thinks about it. Memory Lane, America. One story at a time.